1% of dudes rapping, they ain't nice as me. 98% ain't live the same type of life as me. The judge gave me life and then they sent me where the life is be. That level 4 with depth and vice, the type of stuff they like to see. Two choices, fight or flee. I refuse to die a chump. I never been a mark, but damn, it's scary when that riot jump. I seen dudes cry, get pumped, and some sexually brutalized. Knew a dude who lost his life and he was only doing 5 year-long racial fights when homie all you do is ride. Lonely days and nights up in a hole causing suicide. From the moment you arrive, you see the Mexican mafia, AB skinheads with big giant swastikas, pro-black philosophers, the BGF, the Kumi, and Muslims who will murk you from the nation to the Sunni. That MS was loony, quick to ride up on they rival. Even Christians went to church, hide knives up in they Bible. Political and tribal, the Crips and Damus, the Long Beach, the Hubs and the Dubs and the Grooves, the IE, the Bakersfield, the Dago Pyrus, the Hustlers quick to roll, the gangsters don't move.
Say what's cracking, YouTube? It's your boy 16 to life, and I'm back like I'm on a parole violation. Yard down. Now, for those of y'all that's new to my page, in 1994, I got arrested. I was eventually sentenced to 16 years plus life, and I served 24 years straight in the California prison system. Yeah, that's me gassing on that intro. And if you want to get that song, hit me up on my email, 16tolifemusic@gmail.com, and I'm going to give you information on how to get it. Now, let's get into this video right here, man. So this is no clickbait. This is no, you know what I'm saying, trickery. None of that shit, man. Poetic Flakko flat out tells or suggests, because he's not talking to him, he flat out suggests though for Aunt Jefe to snitch. Man, he says, man, get that shit out the way, tell on who you need to tell on, and come home, man. And let me show you exactly what he said.
Due to the gang politics, he's literally stuck. He either tells or take it to trial and do life. I think Young and Jefe realizes, man, one, ain't no reward for being a real one. You got a thriving media career out here for you. You got a YouTube channel that's popping. You got some babies, bro. Man, throw that boy under the bus and come home, man.
Motherfucker say what? Yeah, so, you know, to me, that's just crazy, man. Once again, that just points out that Flakko thinks that all this gang banging type stuff is a joke. Like, people don't believe in these principles, these morals of the gang world. How silly or not individuals believe it to be, some individuals take this to heart. You know what I'm saying? In Flakko's opinion, hey man, gang bang, do all that you want, and then when you get caught up in a situation, tell. Anyway, man, listen, let me react to this entire video and bring it to you guys play by play, man. Without further ado, let's get to it.
Young and Jefe has officially been charged with murder, and he's unbelievably cooked. Beyond cooked. After the new details in court today, I don't see how Young and Jefe beats this case without snitching. It's officially been confirmed by court documents and TMZ that Ant is officially being charged with the murder of one of his big homies. Now, the big homie name is Carl Terrell. We know that he was murdered on January 31st, 2026. He was born October 26, 1974. He died January 31st, 2026, obviously, as we just said. But here's what's really concerning.
Man, Flakko, like I said, man, he, at best, man, this dude is just unreliable as a journalist, right? I think he's so worried about getting into the bag, you know, or getting to the bag. I've seen this dude make comments and then come back and change them, and you know, we heard him say all this other type of stuff about the taco shooting, and he was just so sure. 1 second Jefe's there, 1 second he's not, and so I'm saying he's unreliable at best. It's right in front of this dude. He just said the big homie's name was Carl Terrell. Carl Terrell Welch. It's right in front of this dude, man. This dude does very to little research, it seems, right? Before he puts stuff out there, right? I seen him a while ago saying something about some female manager. I forget her name, right? But he made some type of outlandish remarks about it, then turned around and did a video basically taking back all the stuff he said. It just seems like he doesn't research much, right? He just puts information out there and just, you know, he doesn't research.
And here's how you know that he didn't die on good terms with his gang, or if he did die on good terms with his gang, then it's shame on that gang. because he died January 31st, 2026. His funeral service wasn't until March 20th. So it took a month and 20 days. It took about 50 days for them to be able to raise enough funds to bury him and send him off proper. Now, if he's from A-Tray, if he is a gang member who is in cahoots with the gang, he's an OG over there, why didn't they come together and send him off properly? Well, that will probably play into the story, because the story is that they were disciplining him, right? They were DPing him and they ended up murdering him. For y'all who are gainfully employed and don't really speak Igganese, let me help y'all out. A DP is when gang members discipline other gang members. So, for example, if you are a gang member and you act up or you do something that other gang members don't like, well, you show up so those other grown men can give you a spanking. It's weird. It's stupid. It's dumb. Right? Again, as far as I'm concerned, any grown man showing up for other grown men to give him a spanking, you are weird too, to be honest.
Let's keep it 100, right? At that age, it's definitely something that seems should be out of character to, to individuals of that age, right? But on the other hand, we have to realize that dudes representing neighborhoods, gangs, and sets, especially around the age of 51, some dudes are deeply entrenched, whether you see it as right or wrong, in these gang in this gang ideology, right? A lot of these individuals, especially of that age, grew up or at least was in that particular hood for many, 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 many years, and they see it as a family. And even though they're past the age of necessarily going out there, being on the hunt, quote unquote, gang banging, they still view themselves as gang members, whether we agree with it or not, right? And a lot of times these dudes still try to live by the code when, they are at an age where it seems that they would be applying themselves to other things, that other things should take priority over, getting DP'd or showing up to DP or whatever. So I'm just trying to give you guys a little bit of the ideology of a individual. Some dudes, unfortunately, basically just, accept this lifestyle to the point where they don't know how to walk away from it.
Right. Now, you don't even have to do anything wrong, to be honest. These gang members have a fetish. They have a weird obsession with giving spankings to other grown men. I know dudes who got DP for being on a podcast. Like that.
Now, this dude right here, Flakko, is so much out of his element. I can stop and correct this dude every 2-3 minutes. I'm not going to try to do that. I'm going to try to let the video play. But sometimes when this dude talks about basically what's going on in gang cultures, this dude does not know what the hell he's saying, man. People do not have a fetish for DPing people and stuff. This dude is he's just so wrong about so much, it's just like, it's crazy. But anyway, let's go.
That's how weird these gang members are. They would put hands and feet on you simply because they feel like they have the numbers or like because they want to. I judge the weirdos who actually pull up and get DP. Like that's who I judge. Now, again, an A-Tray not putting money up for his funeral, to me, is just dumb. If I'm somebody and I know I'm responsible for that man dying, just to get the police off my tail, man, I'm coming together. I'm raising money. Bro, I'm putting my life savings into this funeral, man. I'm going to be up.
Man, hold up, man. This nigga been watching too much TV, man. I mean, come on, man. Listen, when a dude is getting DP, not to say that that's the case here with Jefe, right? But I'm just going to give you guys the scenario of a dude getting DP'd, especially an older individual, not a young dude who's out there actively participating in street activity. When a dude gets DP'd, he has obviously done something that his hood, his homies see as foul, right? So in the event he does pass away, you're not having dudes come together and put no bread together to send this dude off. I mean, that's just not the make of what goes on, right? Like I said, once again, if this dude gets DP'd, man, he's in bad standings. And then if he is beat severely like that, it's an indication of something that he done. Once again, not saying that it is the case with Jefe. I'm just giving you the scenario that this dude is talking about. So then for individuals to come and I know he's just maybe being, being facetious or whatever, but to put his life savings into a funeral of somebody who went out not in necessarily good standings. This dude, like I say, man, this dude is just so out of water when it comes to these, these topics and discussions.
Front giving a speech at the funeral so they don't suspect me at all. But apparently that wasn't done, which was, again, odd. How an OG from the hood don't get no support for the funeral. I was pretty shocked that as of now, Youngin Jefe has only one co-defendant.
And let me just stop and tell you guys, everybody who is of the age of an OG is not necessarily seen as an OG. Once again, not saying that is the situation here. Some people just don't have the respect of others in their hood when they get to certain ages that would be seen as an individual who should be an OG. OG status is really acquired by being out there in the streets, being active, having a respectable name, not just growing old. Some dudes in the hood are just seen as old goofies who are hanging out. And that's just the bottom line.
That might change. I heard multiple A-Trays got picked up yesterday, but as of now, this morning, he has one co-defendant, and that co-defendant name is Johnny Gray. Now, here's why this is very important. And if we don't get some new co-defendants pretty fast, it's going to look pretty grim for Youngin Jefe unless he starts to tell, because that's the only way out of this. And the reason why that's important is because we were told that this was a DP gone wrong, that multiple A-Tray members beat up this dude, he died. Now, it's also consistent with what we were told yesterday, whereas multiple A-Trays got picked up. But if only two people have been charged so far, Youngin Jefe and this dude called Johnny Gray, then that kind of contradicts the story we were told, which is multiple people were there. They was DPing this dude. Youngin Jefe didn't touch this dude. Youngin Jefe was just at the wrong place at the wrong time, bruh. Right? He was just there. He didn't do anything. Well, if Youngin Jefe and one other person has been charged, then it's almost impossible to say Youngin Jefe didn't put hands on this dude, because a DP happens with more than one person. There's never been a DP in the history of Earth where it's only one person. A DP usually includes multiple people.
Now, that's a good point he made right there in talking about right now, currently, it appears as if Jefe is only charged with one other individual. That is a great point that he made right there, right? Because if it's only two people, right, then that does point to the DA's theory that they believe you were involved, you weren't being a bystander. But now, he says there's never in the history of DP and being one person DP and another person, which the majority of the time, yes, he is right. A DP is seen as putting yourself in a situation, putting the individual who has violated whatever it is he's violated in a situation that he can't win and he will be punished. But we saw a while ago, right, when you had Jab 5 get into the situation with his homies when they robbed the corn man. Jab 5 listed his reasons for handling that, right? And I forget exactly what those were. I think because they had put him in a cross or something like that. But still in all, it still was a DP. Sometimes, right, if there is a vicious fighter from your hood, right, or he just may be a big old giant person, they still may say, hey, you know what? You got to go fight the big homie. That's going to be your DP because they're feeling that you're not going to win. So once again, man, this dude is right in saying that the majority of the time it is a 2-on-1, sometimes a 3-on-1, maybe even a 4-on-1. But at times it will be a 1-on-1. It all depends on what your hood feels is the best outcome, right? So once again, man, this dude, he just talks for the sake of talking and the sake of getting to the bag.
And if multiple people would have been charged, then yeah, Youngin Jefe was probably to the side, watching as they DP this dude. It went wrong. He hopped in his car and left. He did nothing wrong. But in this case, if it's only Young and Jefe and one co-defendant, then it's hard to imagine that Young and Jefe was not a part of the DP. That's very hard to imagine if he only has one co-defendant, because a DP usually involves a 2-on-1. Now, this man was 50 plus years old and they was DPing him. Do you understand how evil you got to be to DP a senior citizen? He's 50 plus years old. What is wrong with you guys? Now, if Young and Jefe truly did nothing wrong and he truly was not involved and didn't put hands on this man, you know what that means, man. You got to start talking. You got to start telling them folks who exactly was a part of the DP. Because a DP doesn't include one-on-one. A DP is 2-on-1. So if you was not a part of the DP and you only have one co-defendant, okay, we know he was a part of the DP. Who else? That's a decision that Young and Jefe got to start making, man. Because
and this is what I'm talking about, right? Flakko from the outside looking in. Now, in a lot of situations, right, you still will have older individuals invested in, let's just say, the well-being of their hood, right? The going-ons, and they may not be actively participating, hopping in cars, hopping out on foot, you know what I'm saying, engaging their ops or their enemies, but you still have these individuals who are older and they have the knowledge, so they feel that it is up to them to guide their homies in the right direction in relation to gangbanging. So, you know, they're giving advice, and so they are still participating in that aspect, right? And so that's why sometimes you will have older individuals. Now, for this dude talking about Jefe needs to tell, he needs to just come out and tell, man, this dude, once again, definitely doesn't understand then, man. It's just not that easy, you know. You are not, even if you're not out there actively participating, right, this type of lifestyle is deeply embedded in some individuals. And, you know, just to turn and now you caught up in a situation, now you want to tell, I'm telling you, it's not that, right? Right hand for God, right? When I got caught up in my situation, telling did not cross my mind even for a millisecond, because when you truly accept this life, you know that sometimes jail is a consequence of your actions, right? So even at this day and age right now, I'm not telling on a goddamn person. What I am going to do, though, I am going to definitely weigh out my options and be extremely selective about what I get into and what I don't get into. I am very, very cautious and very aware and cognizant of who I go around, what situations I put myself in. I will flat out tell a dude, man, I'm not doing that shit. Is you crazy? Because I'm looking at the consequences of every action now that I'm wiser, right? So, you know, I will flat out tell a motherfucker, I'm not with that shit. I don't know you. I don't trust y'all. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that, right? But at this age, I'm not telling on a motherfucking soul. I am, once again, going to be extremely cautious about what I do, and flat out, I'm turning down a whole lot of bullshit. I'm not getting involved in that bullshit, because gangbanging is a young man's game. But if you put yourself in a position to be involved in gang-related activities, man, you got to ride with what comes with that, right? And that's the thing about being older. You have to make better decisions. If you make a bad decision and you caught up with it, you can't rat and tail and get your way out like that. And so for this dude to think that it's that simple, it's not, because some people, right, their character means a lot to them. You know, who they say they are and who they are perceived to be means a lot.
Right now, how it's looking? To set yourself free, you got to set the tongue free, man. You got to tell it. According to court documents and TMZ,
Hold on, man. Hold on. Did he just say to set yourself free, you got to set the tongue free? Hey, this hey, this dude is
victim
crazy.
is Carl Welch, which we already talked about. But they says that Carl Welch apparently was murdered by Jefe, and he died of blunt force trauma in a parking lot. I'll be real. Like, did y'all get the Avengers to DP this man? Like, what type time y'all on, bro? This is a 54-year-old man, 56-year-old man, 50-year-old man. Y'all got the Avengers to DP him. You couldn't get some old homies to do it. Like, you couldn't get, I don't know, bro, like some homies around his age to pull up, 2 or 3 deep and DP him. Y'all brought the hit squad to DP of 50-plus-year-old men? Nah, this is cold, bro. This is cold, man. Now, prosecutors filed legal documents formally charging Jefe, whose real name is Maurice Shellman. Where do you get Maurice from and Jefe from? And another man named Johnny Gray with Welch's murder. Again, only 2 people have been charged so far. Jefe and Johnny Gray. So this narrative that this was a DP by multiple people and Jefe was just there watching, I don't know how this is going to hold up in court, homie. All right. And the LA County Medical Examiner listed the cause of death and a few other details on their own site. We'll get there shortly. Prosecutors alleged the crime went down on or about January 31st of this year. And they also listed a series of previous charges for which Jefe was arrested, including robbery. Now, also, too, by the way, this dude's car was robbed. Now, I didn't see them get officially charged with robbery, so I don't know. But, according to details, stuff was taken from the victim's car. Now, I don't know why the victim will voluntarily pull up to get DP'd, but he did apparently, and they killed him and then robbed him. This is from the Medical Examiner website, and it reads the case number. And it also says Los Angeles County is reporting the death of a 51-year-old black male that occurred in the parking lot. Again, why is a 51-year-old being DP'd in the parking lot? The coroner's office identified the man as Carl Welch. Manner of death is homicide. Cause of death is blunt force trauma. Rest in peace, Carl Welch. Formal pronouncement of death was made on Saturday. Jefe and Johnny Gray is being charged with first-degree murder. First-degree murder means this was premeditated, right? Now, this is not a situation where he pulled up and volunteered for a fight and they are DPing him and then he gets murdered. I feel like in that case, wouldn't that be like second degree or maybe third degree, right? Where the murder was not intentional. This was something that was supposed to be a fight. But if they're charging with first degree premeditated, they have enough information to believe that the murder was the intention, like of the DP.
And that's not necessarily true. A lot of times the DA will start off with a charge and later on it's broke down, or even if it happens to go to trial, the jury will find you guilty of a lesser charge, right? Several years ago, they just came out with a law, and it's relating to the felony murder rule. And basically what the felony murder rule is this. Say me and a dude, right? We go to rob a store. Our intention is to rob the store. And then when we get up in there, the owner pulls out a gun. He shoots and kills the dude I'm with. I then, under the old law, would have been charged with the murder because somebody died in the event of a felony, right? And I've seen many individuals get life sentences on situations just like that. When they changed the law stated basically that if you're going there with the intention to rob and a murder jumped off and you were not the one with the gun, say you were the driver of the car and you stayed outside, you now could not be charged with a murder. So if once again, if the intention of individuals was just to DP a person, and it seems that because if your intention is to take the life of someone, you're obviously going to have a weapon, right? But so if the intention is just to basically give a person a physical, a reprimand, and you unintentionally beat him to death, then it seemed like that felony murder rule still would imply. So we have to just wait and see. Like I said, once again, man, Flakko does a lot of talking, but he's never been in any legal situations. He's never done any time. So he's just talking.
This DP, like the actual intention was to actually murder him. That this was planned beforehand. And if they got proof, because I can almost promise you, man, once they started to connect the dots, phones probably got tapped. Instagrams probably got tapped. Wires is probably tapped. They probably have a lot of information, probably got confessions. They probably got a lot. Here's how I believe this is going to happen. Now, do I think that Jefe is 1,100% innocent? I'll be real. I'm not going to sit here and lie to y'all, bro. I don't know. I don't know if he's 100% innocent. Okay? There's an actual dead victim here. So, I got to be very careful with my words. I don't know. I hope he is. Now, how I think this is going to play out, here's how I think this is going to work, okay? Jefe is going to plead guilty to a lesser charge, probably do about 10 to 15 years in prison, come out after about 7 to 8 years. And yeah, like he's gonna probably be out of jail, by like 2034, 2035, right? I don't see Young and Jefe walking away completely free from this at all.
Now let me just say something, right? I made a video earlier and I said I was going through the Los Angeles Department Inmate Information Center, and it noted that Aunt Jefe's birthday is going to be in 3 days. He's going to be 36. So even to do 7 years at the age of 35, 36, that is a considerable amount of time, right? Because who knows what the state of No Jumper will be in 6 or 7 years, right? And so much is going to be lost during that time. I mean, if he does 7 years, he's gonna get out and hit. Dudes are not gonna be checking for Aunt Jefe. It's gonna be a start pretty much probably at the bottom, unless you got some type of big bag put up, right? And even if you do have a big bag put up, you're gonna have to fight this case. You're gonna have to eat and live while you're up in there. So I mean, like I said, man, 7 years at the age of 35 and 36 is very different from doing 7 years at the age of 18 or 21. You still have enough time to get out and get your life back in order. Not saying that you won't be able to get out at 42, 43 and get your life back in order, but it will definitely be a harder climb.
Especially if he don't tell and he don't snitch. Because if Young and Jefe takes a plea deal for a lesser charge, the first thing folks gonna say, hold on, bro. You had a co-defendant. How you take a plea deal and he took her to trial? That ain't boo. That's snitching, bro. So he like he's literally, due to the gang politics, he's literally stuck.
Now that's very wrong, right? That's a little different. I know what he's thinking of, right? But that's very different from, let's go back to the Young Thug and Gunner situation, right? Where they were all being charged and under the same charges. I believe it was a RICO, right? And they was all being charged of basically running some type of, being involved in some type of gang. And so for Gunner to take a charge and say, yes, I'm admitting that I was part of this gang, so on and so forth, now that almost implicates Young Thug or anybody else who's a part of this gang, because you're admitting that, yes, I was in this thing and I was in this gang and it was in fact a gang. These charges are very different, right? And Jefe, Johnny Gray, and whoever else being charged in this are not being charged with, to my understanding, of being involved in some type of gang in the aspect that Young Thug and Gunner was, right? So he can, Jefe can eventually, if he happens to or whatever, if things go that way, he can potentially take a charge of being an accessory, so on and so forth, without admitting or even having to snitch or tell on anybody else, right? Because an accessory after the fact could be a lot of things. Somebody could pull up to my house, right, with a gun and a body in the trunk. I don't know what went on in the murder, right? I don't know who killed the dude, who did what or whatever, right? But if I admit, okay, yes, man, when they pulled up to my house, I did help them get rid of the body. That's not saying, I'm not saying anything else about, who killed the dude or whatever, right? Because you don't even necessarily have to know that. This dude just pulled up, and yes, when they pulled up, I did go and help him get rid of the body. So it's very, very different, right? Basically, just what I'm trying to say is, at times in certain situations, you can take a deal, accept your guilt without implicating anybody else. It all depends. Each situation is different, is what I'm trying to say.
He either tells or take it to trial and do life. I think Young and Jefe realizes, man, one, ain't no reward for being a real one. You got a thriving media career out here for you. You got a YouTube channel that's popping. You got some babies, bro. Man, throw that boy under the bus and come home, man. Tell them folks everything they need to know. And I'm going to reach out. Again, I'm going to give you, well, not give you a call, but I'm going to make sure when you call home, they put me on the three-way. And tell them good folks everything you know, bro. Come home to your family, sir.
And like I said earlier, man, it's not always that simple, man. When you believe in these values that have been instilled in you day in and day out, sometimes since the age of 7, since the age of 8, right? So in my opinion, man, for Flakko to suggest that, it just shows once again how little he knows about the gang life and about people's ideologies and beliefs. And sometimes it doesn't even have to do with necessarily the gang life. I mean, that possibly is where that ideology originated from. But sometimes, when you get caught up and you go through criminal situations and you're involved in the justice system, you get treated so unfairly and harshly, and you see other people getting treated unfairly and harshly, so much to the point where you just don't believe in sending an individual to jail, right? Unless it's for some horrific a case on a child or a minor or something like that. But outside of that, man, you just realize that the justice system is really not about rehabilitation. You have some correctional officers in there and people who are part of the administration who are more savage than the dudes that they're watching, right? Because if you're working in that capacity, right, of law enforcement, then you should be about enforcing the law. But anytime you can go in there and you can be a participant to beating somebody, taking away somebody's rights, or even standing by watching your coworkers beat and savagely kick and dog somebody to the point where if they were free, they would be charged with a crime. If you can support that, you're not enforcing the law. You're just a bigger gang with a bigger authority to violate people's rights, and then you hide it under the guise of law enforcement, right? So anyway, man, I'm supposed to end this and get up out of here, man. We got Poetic Flakko advocating for Jefe to tell it all, throw that dude up under the bus, and come home. Anyway, you already know what it is. And let me just say this, right? I would be very, 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 very surprised if Aunt Jefe is even considering any of that, much less going through with it, right? I do not see anything like that coming from Aunt Jefe, right? I don't know the man personally, right? But from watching him from time to time, I just don't get that out of what I have believed his character is. So we'll see how this all plays out, though, man. Anyway, you already know what it is. It's your boy 16 to Life. Resume normal program.